You see, I want you to see this morning that our faith in God, our calmness in the midst of sorrow, our peace in the midst of suffering is not foolish. It's reasonable. Anybody who had lived with Abraham through his call from Haran to this call to sacrifice Isaac would say you'd be a fool if you didn't. You'd be an absolute fool. Because anytime you did take a detour of God's plan, you remember what happened, Abraham. You remember Pharaoh. You remember Abimelech. You remember those sleepless nights. You remember Lot. You remember where Sodom and Gomorrah got him. Anytime anybody's taken a detour of your new God's plan, it's ended terribly. So don't you take a detour now. We've seen too much. There's too many footings to not cross this bridge. You do it. It's reasonable. It's radical, but it's reasonable, Abraham. And so Abraham does the reasonable thing. He recognized that Isaac was as good as dead to begin with, and this isn't going to make it any worse. Because God, who could redeem him from us two old fogies, could redeem him from ashes. Because we were as good as dead ourselves. And so he raises the knife to do what God has called him to do in this faith expectation that God will raise the dead. And God stops him.